Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging hour discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Cucchiara, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome in. Good afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. Just a reminder of the places you could tune in, listen to us. A couple different ways you could do that. One is on the radio at KDOW 1220 AM. You can also listen to us live online if you happen to be near access or get online. And anytime, Monday through Friday now, our show is live from 3 to 4 Pacific Daylight Time. So if you could get online and you want to listen to it live, you can't access or you're not near a radio, that means anywhere. You could go to kdow.biz. That's kdow.biz. Push on the button or press the button that says Listen Live, and that will allow you to listen to our show between 3 and 4 Pacific Daylight Time, between Monday and Friday. The other thing we'd love to do is have you download the app. That way you could download the podcasts and listen to the show anywhere, anytime you can. We realize not everybody has the advantage to listen between 3 and 4, and the great part about technology is you can listen on your time when you would like. So if you go to the website, reradiolive.com, you could get the app, download the podcasts. You could listen to any past shows. You could also go to iTunes, Stitcher, all the places that you get the apps. You can get the RE Radio Live app and allow you to listen to the show anytime, anywhere. We're a live show. We love your calls and questions. There's two ways to communicate with us during the show. One is the toll-free number, 1-800-516-1220. You could also text any questions in at 408-838-9060. Lastly, if you're listening to this via podcast, the way to communicate with us would be the 408-838-9060. The 800 number is only good during the time when we're doing the live show. Most of you know the focus is education and information, anything around real estate. So our focus is, our objective is very simple, I think. It is to educate and inform the consumers to make them wise consumers in order to make or help you make wise decisions in and around your real estate. So we have really a plethora of different topics and subjects and experts on the show to give you that education. I'm going to welcome in my guest today. We have a special show, and we have a gentleman with some dual experience here. Mr. Scott Green is not only a realtor with Alain Pinel, but he also has a firefighting background, and I'm going to let him go through that with you. And the reason we're going to bring that up today is the topic we're going to be talking about today is real estate and the wildland fire, I should say, in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Most of you know back here in the last 30 days or so, we were devastated in the area, in the mountain areas, with a lot of fires. And Scott's here because he had firsthand experience with it and how it affects your real estate and where you live. And so it's really going to be a great topic today. Welcome back to the show, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Glad to be here.
Good to have an expert on both areas for sure. Let's get started this way, Scott. If you could give the listeners a little bit about your background, certainly on real estate, but also in the area of firefighting and what you've been doing the last 25 years with that.
So I've been in real estate now for a little over 4 years. I'm an agent with Alain Pinel Realtors out of the Saratoga office, and I represent clients both in the South Bay, Santa Cruz Mountains, and all of Santa Cruz County. Love the job, love the company. Represented a lot of buyers and sellers and provided some great service to them. And my fire background, my dual career and other passion in life has been firefighting. I've been in the fire service for about 23 years now, and worked most of my career in Santa Cruz County. Some of my experience with some large fires and natural disasters was the floods of 81, 82. Of course, I was a young one there, and it was before the fire service. Yeah. And then during high school, I had the firsthand experience being part of it and being in the community. But that was the 1985 Lexington fire, which was a large event. And then 1989 earthquake. We'd all remember that one.
Remember that.
And kind of wreaked havoc in our community and throughout the South Bay and Santa Cruz and even San Francisco. And 2008 Summit Fire up in the same area, and then 2009, we had the first Loma Fire, and then a couple weeks ago we had the second Loma Fire. So
quite an experience, as you could tell, and we want to talk a little bit about that topic today. Is the fire, fire in the area in the mountains, and how it relates, what's going on, and a little bit of education on that. I know a lot of people have seen it on the news and heard and saw a lot of communication going back and forth, but we have a gentleman here that has firsthand experience. And then, how it affects real estate. Does that concern you when fires like that take place in the mountains, about buying in that area? And, all kinds of questions may come up. So if you have any questions for Scott, now's a great time during the hour to check in. Again, 1-800-516-1220, or you could text 408-838-9060. Let's start, Scott. I guess just kick it off. If you could kind of explain what happened. It was on September 26th, I guess Monday. If you could kind of give us an idea of maybe how it started and how things kind of get going. Yeah, I can't comment on how it started, but it was reported as a structure fire that came in and quickly, got into the brush and vegetation, and as we all saw that big, huge plume over the mountaintop, it grew very, very fast, and it was very intense. And it had, thousands of people very panicked and nervous. And up in our community, we have a number of people that commute, and I know a couple that actually commute up to San Francisco, and obviously that's going to create some concern. Do they need to leave, and can they get up there? And part of the problem is when we have a fire like that in the area, people can't get in. Right. We got a lot of fire equipment coming in to fight the fire, and they just, the fire departments don't want people in there. Sheriffs, law enforcement will start closing down roads and setting up evacuations and getting people clear of the area. So it creates a panic, and it puts somebody really, in an uneasy position because their family or their possessions and their pets are still at home. Right. And when they left that morning, they didn't anticipate having that fire happen that day. So it's very important, especially during the summertime, to, kind of have your home prepped and kind of be ready for, those disasters that may, strike us. So that day, that fire grew very fast, and as we know, there was 12 homes and a number of outbuildings that were destroyed, and a lot of people had to be evacuated, and of course, there's hundreds of homes that were threatened by that fire. Yeah. Before we kind of go through it, is it completely contained, all done, no issues right now as we know it? So the last report on that fire is 99% contained. Okay, they expect full containment here in a few days, and no forward progress. So that's good news. And then of course we have some weather in the forecast, some rain coming in and Friday, Saturday, which is long awaited. Yeah. So how you had 12 homes destroyed, obviously hundreds of people evacuated. What happens in a situation like that when people are evacuated? Obviously, Red Cross comes in. I know there's probably a ton of local support and community that really automatically pitches in, I'm guessing. We do, and especially up in the Summit area, and you've been up there a little bit and on a little tour with me earlier in the year. We have a really great community. Everybody reaches out. We had our email group that opened up their, people that had cottages or extra bedrooms and, that's nice. And spare rooms, whatever they had, RVs. They opened their homes up to anybody who needed it. Red Cross will certainly come in and set up their shelters, and then we have, not we, but evacuation centers would then be opened up and, different parts of the county so that people at least have a place to go, and there's, food and water and shelter there to accommodate the victims and the people that have been evacuated. Yeah. How do how do people help that may not be familiar? Obviously, the Red Cross is really the big part, but let's say someone is here in the Bay Area or in San Francisco, northern, southern, wherever. I'm sure there's a number of different things that the way people can help if they wanted to. Yeah, there is, and there's a desired need up there right now. Okay. Now that the fire is kind of wrapping up and it's no longer headline news, there's still a lot of, we have the aftermath to deal with, and those people that did lose their home, they're probably not going to have a home for a couple of years until they get permits and rebuild, and it may even be longer than that. Yeah.
And so now we have a lot, we have over 4,000 acres of scarred land and open roads, and now we have rain coming in. So now they have to deal with erosion and some mudslides and those kind of things that come with rain. So hopefully, yes, we need rain, but hopefully we won't get a lot of rain too fast that will create those issues. But a lot of the people up there at least the people that have lost their homes, there is a need for some RVs or travel trailers. So if anybody has any of those trailers that they're thinking about getting rid of and would like to donate, they can donate to the Casa Loma Volunteer Association. Okay. They're a 501c nonprofit, so any donation would be then tax deductible, and they will take care of getting those RVs to anybody that lost their home that needs some shelter. Okay. And like any of us, when you have a loss like that, you don't want to leave your property. You want to stay there. So if they can get some temporary homes up there for them to live in, that would be a huge help. Also, up in the community, we have the Loma Prieta Community Foundation, and that was established back in 1983 to help out the community with events and projects and everything. They've established a Loma Fire Fund that 100% of those proceeds will go to the Loma fire victims. Okay. And so if you go to lpcf.org and click on the donate, look for the Fire Fund tab, and you can make a donation. Of course, Loma Prieta Community Foundation is a 501c nonprofit as well, so that would be a tax-deductible donation.
Good. We're going to take a break here in about a minute. We'll come back and continue, but real quickly, as this fire destroys thousands of acres, over a period of time, is there usually a plan in place, Scott, where they go in and replant, reseed, or is it the natural growth that takes place? How does that work? I've often wondered how that, or if there is anything like that takes place.
Most of the time, it is a natural process. Okay. It'll regrow. Got it. And any areas where they come in, where there's a threat to any landslides, I can't really speak for the Loma fire, but in the past I've seen they'll come in and hydroseed. Oh, okay. And they'll kind of, that's that greenish slime stuff that they'll throw up on the hillside, and they'll throw that, and it kind of helps keep the ground intact when it rains, and there's seed in there that will get some grass growing once we get some rain on it.
All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to continue to discuss the fire that took place and how is it related to real estate here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. If you have any questions, 1-800-516-1220. This is Joe Cucchiara. We'll be back with you to continue in just a couple of minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. We're joined in studio today by Mr. Scott Green. He's a real estate agent with Alain Pinel Realtors, but also, just importantly, he has 23 plus years in the fire service and is really giving us an education on what happened in the fire recently in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And we're going to get into, some of the ways people could prepare for fires, what you should be doing with your home, a lot of stuff that goes around that. So the conversation today is about real estate as it relates to fires and what happens, preparation afterwards, where you could help, all kinds of different things of that nature. So if you have any questions, 1-800-516-1220, or you could text the questions in at 408-838-9060. So Scott, let's get into, obviously something like this happens. It's terrible. People displaced from their home. The good news is, did we have any casualties or did we escape? I know we had 12 homes lost, hundreds of people displaced. Did we have any casualties in terms of both citizens and or firefighters?
No casualties to citizens or firefighters. There were a couple firefighter injuries that were reported, and we did hear of a dog that perished in one of the fires, or one of the homes that burnt down in the fire, unfortunately.
It's sad. Anytime that happens, anytime you jeopardize, certainly the first and foremost is human life. Then you have people's homes in some cases that are gone, and prized possessions, pictures, albums. Who knows what's. But it's just a really, really sad situation. I know most of us are very busy. We go through our lives, but if you could only imagine, if you could run that scenario through your mind, if you were in a home, regardless of whether it was a year, or 10 years, or 20 years, doesn't matter, and the next thing you know, you had to vacate and your home was burnt to the ground. I mean, you could only imagine. If you own a home or if you live in a home, you could imagine what that feels like. And so we're also going to be continuing during the show giving out websites and information where those could donate and help any way you can for a lot of the people, and in general, just to replenish some of the funds that are being used by the Loma Prieta Fund and also Red Cross. So let's talk, Scott. So let's talk a little bit about prevention, I'll call it, or preparation. How does, as we sit here today, and I know you've done this before and you talk to people because that's your area of expertise all the time, but for those that may not know, how does a homeowner prepare for wildfire?
So there's a couple things. One is in the Wildland area, there's a Public Resource Code 4291 that's required the homeowner to have a clearance around their home. Okay. So you need 100 feet clearance around around your home and your outbuildings. And 100 feet isn't always enough, but that's what the code requires. And if somebody can do more is always better. Okay. So if you have somebody that's on a 5-acre parcel or 10-acre parcel, I always recommend take it out to the property lines, clear the land. And there is a misconception out there that some people think they have to clear cut. You don't have to cut every tree. You don't have to clear everything where it's barren. And you can still have your trees. You can still have some shrubbery. You can still have landscape. You just don't want to have that thick, dense, flammable brush that's growing. Trees should be trimmed up. The code is 10 feet, but, I always recommend try to trim up more, especially if you have tall trees. Try to trim them up more than 10 feet. And adequate water storage is huge. Okay. And, typically most homes up there are on a well or a spring and will have a storage tank of usually 5,000 gallons. Newer construction requires to have an extra 5,000-gallon storage tank. And there are many residents that have now, put in some little tank farms, and they'll have 4 or 5 tanks of storage. So it's nice to have, 20, 25 gallons of water. And when the fire crews are out there and they see that extra water storage, they like that, and it's very helpful to have that. So that's always a good thing to have. Let's see. And then also remove the combustible items, around the house and underneath the deck. There's a tendency for people to take advantage of that real estate underneath the deck and pile up firewood and that extra lumber from that project, because you never know when you're going to need something like that. Maybe some
paint or thinners.
Wood, whatever, pipe and everything. But when you have a wildland fire like what we saw here a couple of weeks ago, and those firebrands and embers start blowing and they get caught up underneath the deck and into that combustible material, and that's a cause to start the house on fire. Yeah. Keeping the roof cleaned off. Roof and gutters, having a non-combustible roof. If you still have a shake roof, consider getting it, changed out and put a tile or a composition shingle roof on there. And also having your home buttoned up so so embers can't get up into the attic. Have those screens where you have your vents, and probably have like an 1/8-inch screen on there. A smaller screen, the better. Obviously, you can have a screen to keep rodents out, but the smaller screen, the better, to keep the firebrands and the embers out so they don't get up underneath the house or up in the attic and start a fire. The other thing too is, which is important, is to have your home marked. Address. If engines, fire crews need to get to your house, it's very helpful to have your address marked so that fire crews can find your house. And another important item is to have your driveway cleared off so that you can actually, so somebody can get a fire engine down the driveway and get out safely. Yeah. If the homeowner doesn't take those steps to help defend the house, then most likely the fire department can't defend the house, help protect that house. So it's important to set that up so that to make it easier for the fire crews to come in there and defend your house if you're gone.
All right. Well, we're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue. If you have any questions for Scott, give us a call 1-800-516-1220, or you could text again 408-838-9060. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. We're joined in our studio by Mr. Scott Green. He's a real estate agent with Alain Pinel Realtors and also an expert, has 23-plus years in the firefighting background. And so it's a nice advantage and privilege to have Scott here because we're going to talk a little bit about real estate, about how the fires affected the mountain areas. First couple segments, we talked a little bit about, what happened, and then even more importantly, how to prepare. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about how that relates to real estate. That being said, Scott, we've had this happen now. All of us are used to, I don't know if disasters, that's maybe a little extreme, but, natural disasters happen. You talked about the earthquake, the different fires. These things happen, and one thing is to be aware and to be prepared. But I think most people still, the Bay Area is a wonderful place to live. The mountains are a beautiful place to live. When you think about you're 20 to 30 minutes away from everything, and you could feel like you're literally away from everything in those mountains up there. Does stuff like this, when it comes up, does it discourage buyers? Do you see any of that, or is it a place where if people want to be, they're still going to really make that move?
I don't think it really discourages too many buyers. And as you just said, if they have their mindset on the mountains, they're going to move forward. Mm-hmm. And this week I've had 2 calls for new buyers that want to come up and look at some property, and I'm meeting with one tomorrow, in fact. And I don't really think that it's going to discourage too many people. I mean, in the fire area itself, maybe it might, but like I said earlier before that, it's going to grow back in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. You're not really going to be able to tell that a fire has gone through there. And so when I was up there in that area, you couldn't really tell the first Loma fire and the first Summit fire. Mm-hmm. And I remember back in 1985, after the first couple of years during the Lexington fire, it was you couldn't really tell too much. So things will come back. But for the most part, as you said, the community of the mountains is a very beautiful place to live. 20, 30 minutes away from San Jose, Sunnyvale, 12, 15 minutes from Los Gatos, and it's a great place. We have people that commute very long times up to San Francisco and Redwood City, Mountain View, etc., because they love the mountains, they love the redwood trees, they love the forest, and love the community that we have, up in that area.
On the other side of the coin, Scott, do you find that people who currently live there then get nervous by that? Maybe they got a close call, or maybe they were one of the unfortunate people where maybe their house did burn down. Do you see people exiting too, or is it just, again, such a beautiful place and people really want to be there, they realize the potential risk?
I think that sometimes people, wherever something like this will hit, people will just, say this was too close of a call, I'm going to move somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But I don't really see ever a mass exodus.
Yeah, makes sense.
So they want to stay around and build their home again or stick it out. Yeah,
very good. Well, we have a little less than 2 minutes before this segment, and we'll continue. But let's talk a little bit about how, before we take this quick break, home sellers. Let's get on the real estate side now, a little more detailed of the mountains. What should they do to the home sellers to prepare their property for sale? Let's say, they're going to get ready to sell their home. What are some of the things they should be doing?
So just like any home downtown, you're going to do your usual inspections and, fix the bathrooms, kitchen, et cetera, and get it prepped for sale. In the mountains, I think that it's important to really pay attention to the fire clearance, and especially in the last couple of years here, being 5 years of drought, fire's on people's mind. We've had some, pretty big fires around us, and of course with this one here in the last couple of weeks. So really, look at your yard and ask yourself, do I have an adequate fire clearance? Because, some prospective buyers may be a little on edge about that. They'll still buy in the mountains, but, make your house more attractive by getting that fire clearance in and getting those trees trimmed up and getting rid of that brush and, getting the roof cleaned off, et cetera, and having that nice open driveway if you do have a long driveway, and have that open up so it doesn't feel claustrophobic and, have them fearful of, fire.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're going to take our last break. No, it's not our last break. We're going to come back, and we're going to have a longer segment. We're going to talk more about what buyers should be looking for when buying in the mountains. We're going to get into details. If you have any questions, again, for me or Scott, 1-800-516-1220. We'll be back with you in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon. Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. We're joined in studio today by Scott Green. He's a realtor with Alain Pinel Realtors, and also, just as important, in the fire service for the last 23 years. We're talking a little bit about the fires recently in the Santa Cruz Mountains, what took place, how people are recovering, how we could help, and we're going to give out some more numbers and information about giving some of that support back here before we duck out next segment as well. But we're going to talk now a little bit about real estate in the mountains and the beautiful living, the lifestyle. It's really good. And so what are some of the things that buyers are looking for when they're buying in the mountains? So typically, Scott, we've had a couple shows on this before, but it's always a good reminder to let people know what are the things that drive people to say, gosh, Scott, I really want to live in the mountains somewhere. What are those things?
So first thing is that, what drives them there is the scenery, the property, the option to have, a big yard, have animals, horses, etc., a winery or a vineyard, and just to kind of have that peace and quiet after the hustle and bustle in the city all day long. And having a tight community. We have up in the Summit Road area, is a great community, tight community, a lot of neighbors that help neighbors. And we during this last incident here with the Loma fire, we passed a lot of information around and kept the information flowing to keep people informed, and everybody chips in to help out. And as I said earlier, people open up their homes and whatever they had, they'll offer that out. So I think that's a huge attraction to have that. And I think that sometimes you don't always have that in the big cities. And a lot of people know each other. One thing I've found that when I'm selling real estate down here in town, I'll ask my seller, who's the neighbor across the street 2 doors down, and I get the answer, I don't know. So it's nice up in the community that a lot of people know each other, and that's a really good feeling. Yeah. And he'd been up there to a little community store, the Summit store there.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And it's a great store.
Wonderful.
Daryl and Karen Osborne, the proprietors, they've been great to the community. There's always been great supporters.
Yeah.
And you go in there and it's you remember that show Cheers. You go in there, everybody knows your name, and that's kind of the same atmosphere. You go in there.
Well, and they also have some wonderful food.
Wonderful food. Yeah. Great place to go to get your party catered or get some meat for the barbecue or whatever it is.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Really good.
So there are a lot of things that attract you, and we have great, excellent schools. A lot of people start their home search with schools, and Loma Prieta Elementary and CT English up there on Summit Road are fabulous schools, and We have great community support that support and financially support the schools and everything. So you add those together, and it makes a great community to move into.
Very good.
And so when you get up there and you start looking for a home, you want to select a good real estate agent that knows the mountain community and knows the mountains, because there's a lot of integral things that go along with home buying. We talked about that before: septics and wells and springs and community roads and everything. So having the right agent that knows the mountains is certainly helpful and knows the area. If danger is a major concern, then buyers maybe should focus on some areas that may not be as dangerous for wildland fires. And there are homes that reside in more dangerous fires, and there's homes that will be pose less of a danger or threat for wildland fires. So that's something to take in consideration. Let's see. In addition to the the features that you desired, look for homes that have the adequate fire clearance that we talked to in the last segment. If that's a concern, then focus your search on a home where somebody has taken the steps and to prepare that home for wildland fire and have that clearance, so that you can not have to inherit that huge job of putting in that clearance, because that could ultimately cost thousands of dollars to clear trees and brush around a home. Good
point. Well, let's chat a little bit about, with a couple of minutes that I have left in this segment, Scott. I've been talking a lot over the last month or so about how it's just really turning into, I wouldn't say a full-fledged buyer's market, but it's definitely shifting. And in some cases, buyers are in a pretty good position right now. For the first time in a long time, I'm seeing deals where they're actually accepting contingencies because people are getting what they want for their house, and they're happy to wait for the person to get their house on the market. There's things that are taking place now that we haven't seen in the last 3 or 4 years. And rates are still good. So talk a little bit about, from your perspective, what you're seeing, and would you encourage buyers to get out there?
I even in the last couple of years, I always encouraged buyers to get out there. As I said, is that you can't hit the ball unless you swing the bat. Yep. And what I found with buyers that have come to me and that have been working with agents previously, I think they got some, bad advice. And I said, don't, if you can't bid $30,000 or $50,000 over, it's not, don't try. And my feeling is that I'm there, I'm working for you. We should always try. And obviously, the offer's got to be reasonable. Sure. But do your best and go out there and do the best you can, and get in there and negotiate. And that's kind of that's what I love to do. I love to negotiate. So it's a great time. Interest rates are low, as you said, and we're seeing a little bit of inventory creep up a little bit. So like in the Santa Cruz Mountains right now, as of today, we've got 50 homes on the market, where before we've been sitting at about anywhere from 37 to 40, wow. So 40 45, 48. Yeah. And let's see. I mean, the last 90 days we sold 32 homes, and there's 23 pending. So there's been some, good movement in the real estate market there. So there's still buyers out there, and I still feel we don't have enough inventory. So yeah, for the buyers, get out there and swing the bat.
Yeah. I would say, too, before we take a break, just a reminder, if you're a buyer, get out there and do not, and Scott made a good point, do not if you're working with someone that's just still discouraging you, to be prepared to go over or still not. I would say look for other advice, or maybe interview other agents, because I would agree 100% with Scott. I mean, when you work with someone, it's the job of all of us to encourage you, find out, it might take some time, it might take to find the place you want, or figure out if someone's willing to structure a deal that works for you. But the bottom line is we're here to work for you, and we need to try to make that work. So we're going to take another break, last break. We're going to come back, wrap things up, and then also give you some numbers and information where you can continue to help some of the issues around the fire. 1-800-516-1220. We'll be back with you to finish up in just a couple of minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live, streaming live on iHeart, TuneIn, and KDOW.biz. For more information on today's topic or guest, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Cucchiara.
Welcome back in. Thank you again for joining us this afternoon as we wind down here. Just a couple minutes left. Joined by my guest, Scott Green. He is a realtor with Alain Pinel Realtors and also 23 years fire experience. And we're talking about, started the show really talking about the tragedy of the fires recently. The good news is they're contained for the most part, and but there was a lot of damage that's taken place, not only the acreage, but homes displaced, people displaced, and good news, no casualties. And so we're going to wrap up the show really just with a couple different things and then give out some more information on how you could help and how you could give back to Red Cross and the Loma Prieta Fund and some other things that are really, really going to be needing some support here. So before we do that, real quick again, Scott, I mean, what I'll say is before we move into that is the topic also was mountain homes. If you're looking in the mountain homes, maybe yourself, your parents, maybe friends, family, someone you don't know, maybe you're moving in from another area, you're not familiar, definitely get in touch with someone like Scott who is familiar. He's an expert in the mountains. If someone tells you, you know, don't worry about that, I could help you anywhere, all I'm telling you is that is not the truth when it comes to mountain real estate. It may be the truth if they tell you I could help you in, you know, Saratoga and Los Gatos or Cupertino, then that's fine. Those are, you know, different areas. But when you're talking about a specialty area like the mountains, it is completely different. And you really need to work with someone that understands the buying and selling about in and around the mountains, and Scott could do that for sure. And the last thing is Scott and I both agree, you know, buyers get out there, take advantage of these low interest rates. There's more inventory all over the place, no matter where you're buying. And we're actually seeing people that are taking offers. And the other thing, the last thing I will say also, which is really makes me feel good, Scott, is for the first time, too, in a long time, I'm seeing some people get into some homes with FHA, a little bit down, special programs, where you didn't see that before because of the crazy market the way it was. It's
nice to be able to get in the contract without having to put 40% down or all cash and everything. Yes, I've had that same experience with my last few transactions. Yeah. No cash. I just got a buyer in the contract over in the San Lorenzo Valley on Friday, and we competed with 4 offers, but we weren't the highest.
Good.
And this
good
was,
to hear.
You know, with a loan too. So.
Yeah, really good to hear. So a little less than 2 minutes. I want to make sure. So Scott, again, if you could share with us where the place, the website's information, how could those help that want to?
So if you'd like to donate, we encourage donations. There's people that are in need, and please go to lpcf.org. That's the Loma Prieta Community Foundation, and it is a 501c nonprofit organization. You can donate online, and also the Casa Loma Volunteer Fire Association. That is the volunteer fire department up on in the Loma Chiquita area there. There's also a tab on there where you can donate to them directly. And they're also looking for RVs and trailers to assist with the people that lost their homes. So if you have anything like that, make a donation.
All right. And real quick, last before we go, your phone number, how they could reach you.
You can reach me at 408-761-2092.
Very good. Scott, thanks so much for the time, not only your expertise in both these areas. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Very
Thanks
much.
for the invitation.
This is Joe Cucchiara with Real Estate Radio Live. It's been a pleasure having Scott Green really explain about what's going on in the mountains, and it's good to see that everything's contained. Remember, we're with you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday from 3 to 4. Be sure to tune in and also go to the website, RE Radio Live, and download the podcast. This is Joe Cucchiara. Have a great afternoon. We'll be back with you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Tune in, log in, download our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com. RERadiolive.com.